In today's video, I want to go through each of the style essences and give you some autumn makeup, cozy makeup season recommendations. Many of you know the style essences because I've explored them a lot. I will link a playlist down below. But if you're not familiar, the Kitchener style essences are basically a style guide. There's 7 different essences and you look at your features. You also look at your aura and your presence and categorize it. And then you can use your style to further lean into that presence and that essence. All of us have a combination of essences that make up our own unique signature. And I have just found it such a helpful style system for really finding what looks feel at home on me. And that's kind of the goal of today, like what looks will feel most at home on each essence, but still have that autumn feel. And I really loved looking into this because there's so many different ways you can express that cozy season look. So that's the plan for today. Let's get into it. And just a quick note, I have come up with a lot of different examples of these makeup styles, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the people in these makeup photos are all perfect examples of each essence. More just the makeup style is what I think would look very effortless on each essence. But yeah, that being said, it will showcase how all kinds of faces can rock any kind of look really. Just a little disclaimer there. So I'm gonna start with dramatic. We're gonna start with the most yang, as Kitchener puts it, which is the most angular. People who have this very dominant, sometimes intimidating presence often have a little bit more sharpness in their features, whether in their jawline, their nose, and just can handle, it says it all, drama. So I gotta say, I think the dramatics can really handle the very classic vampy kind of autumn makeup looks. So I am thinking of like smoky eyes and like warm smoky eyes. And just like when you start to move into autumn, people tend to gravitate towards those darker colors and darker looks. So even like, the dark in the waterline, the kind of more intense liner, dramatics can like do it all. They can really easily handle the vampy lip with the vampy smoky eye. So if you're a dramatic, whether you're someone who likes to really lean into that or dip your toes in during an evening look, if you ever have a moment to just fully rock the smoky eye and the dark lip, you guys can do it so effortlessly. I'm a little jealous because it looks so cool, it looks so effortless, and it just really brings out the intensity of your features. So I've also found that a lot of 90s looks, there's something about some of the 90s looks that like kind of play with a bit of drama, whether it's, in the contrast, like a white eyeshadow and then a darker lip. I always think dramatics look great with high blush placement. So when you're doing these, smoky eyes and lips, having that little bit of blush up here can look really great and like bring everything together. I love halo eyes on dramatics. I love a halo eye in general, but personally I've found they're really tough to wear. But when you have that dramatic essence, that smokiness on both corners of your eye can look really great. And I find it a very like smoky autumn look. You can use browns, you can use cool tones, like you can always tailor things to your, what colors you're drawn to more. But I will say there's something about like deep plums that to me really feel like a great starting point for dramatics and autumn. Rather than something, warm and peachy and orange, those deep plums are such a dramatic look, whether you just go for like a bold vampy lip or having that eye and lip combo. Plums, just give it a try. I think it's going to look amazing. All right, the Gamine style essence. This one has some yang and some sharpness, but more in a petite way. People with Gamine essence tend to seem really like quirky, kind of artistic, and just give off this little bit of a pixie-like energy, so they can play often with really like fun details in their makeup very effortlessly. So how are we gonna bring some of these looks into autumn? Well, if you wanna do something as simple as like a kind of quirky liner or a cool liner shape, playing with autumn tones with that. I think gold liner is got this kind of classiness, but still quirkiness. And I just love how it looks. And if you like that sharp little small detail that suits a Gamine so well, that's a great way to play with some like warm autumn colors, or even like an orange or a little bit of like a foil on the lid, just like this pop of something. When I think of Gamines, I always think of them having this ability to play with pops, whether it's like pops of color, a little pop of a liner, like a little dash here. Like it just looks so natural on them. So that being said, I think you can play with pops of autumn colors. So like orange, just sweep a bright orange on the lid, a red. If you're not big on playing with more colorful things, something like a classic black liner with little details that shake it up, and then a lip that's like softly vampy, like a bit of extra lining with like a cool tone liner. It's playful, but it's also very chic, a little bit of callback to that 90s I mentioned with the dramatics. And then also just like playing with contrasting color combos. In autumn, as much as we lean into often like warm and earthy tones, playing with a contrasting shade can look really cool. So like a dark brown lip with a pale sky blue eye, or some, such similar combo. It doesn't always have to be all the warm tones and gold tones. It can be like, how can I use a bit of that, but then play against it too. All right, natural essence. People with natural essence tends to have immediately a sense of warmth, so very perfect for autumn. Like anyone with natural essence, they kind of just seem like someone really approachable and friendly, and a lot of the best looks for them seem very low effort. Even if, who knows, you put a lot of effort into it, it is kind of this sense of ease. So automatically, yes, warm tones. They often recommend kind of like the beachy look for naturals, but you can deepen that up a touch for autumn and colder seasons by going into like terracottas and like soft browns, whether you want to go into like cool browns or warm browns, but generally like just those deeper version of like beachy tones can look so great. And I find with the natural essence, they really suit monochromatic looks. So like having very similar or the same tones on the cheeks, the lips, and the eyes can just really bring that harmonious sense of, well, it's all in the word natural. Like there's not too much like contrast happening, not too many pops of colors. It's really about finding this really effortless look. So monochrome looks, warm shades that are just going a little bit deeper for autumn. But if you do want to play with a little bit of color, like I think a burnt orange or like a burnt mustard just like all over the lid can be like a really fun but also very natural look to the face and to the makeup style. Brown blush, I love brown blush to have in my makeup arsenal for autumn. Just putting that a little bit on the cheeks and like smudging it on the lips as well. Such a pretty shade. I think everyone should have a brown blush, but especially if you're a natural. And along with that monochrome look, just like softer blends, nothing too like harsh or like rounded or structured, just like, everything blending into each other. A wash of something on the lid, blending into that bronzer. And that's part of that effortless feel for the naturals. Okay, classic essence. These are the people right in the middle of the Kitchener Essence spectrum who just have very balanced features. Moderation is important to consider because everything on their face is kind of moderate. Nothing really sticks out. And so makeup styles often mimic that moderate feel. And in terms of autumn makeup looks, I think a classic can't go wrong with just a soft little wing and like mid-tone brown lips. So nothing too vampy, nothing too smoky, but still having that little homage to autumn colors. But it doesn't have to be so simple as that. I know some classics want to have a little bit of fun, and I think they can often channel that French girl chic vibe when it comes to like wearing more bold colors. Like I think classics are actually some of the best to wear like a bold orange lip because there's something about their features, as long as like the eyes are kind of balanced in some way, that makes it look so effortless, like that French girl chic thing. I think just having a little lash with it and a touch of blush on the cheeks balances it out just right and just looks so intentional, but very low effort and very classic in a lot of ways. I think classics can look really great with just like a sweep of a monochrome shade on the eyes. Often like those very neutral colors, like a soft brown or a little bit of taupe or gray, can look really just like great. Sometimes when I try to do just like one color on the eyelid, it always feels like it's missing something, but with classics, it feels just right and just gives that really put together look that suits classic essence. In terms of pinks, I think classics get recommended soft pinks a lot, but you could go into those slightly deeper pinks, things that have a little bit more mutedness to it. I think those look great in autumn, but nothing is ever really too much. It's not about vampy lips. It's not about bold eyes. It's about just the right amount of something. Not too glossy, not too glowy, not too glittery, but a little, you can definitely play with a little bit of everything, just in a very small way. And I think classics also really suit shaping out the lips precisely rather than like a smudgy lip. So whatever lip shade you're opting for autumn, whether it's a brown or trying a pop of orange, just shaping it out nicely. All right, romantics, the ones who have a little bit of sensuality and lushness to their features, we're starting to move in to the softer side of the Kitchener Style Essence scale, and there's more round features, round lips, round cheeks. Guys, you just kill it with a rich, dark red or some kind of rich, dark color on the lips. Not super vampy, but very lush feeling. Not a bright red, but more muted. You just can't go wrong, romantics, with something like that. Maybe that's a little boring, but I had to mention it first because romantics just rock that the best. I love when we start to move into autumn and just rocking like a dark red lip and not much else and a black turtleneck. To me, it just feels so natural to me, and I just love playing with any kind of autumn lip shade that has a lushness to it. A darker orange, a burnt brown, but especially those darker reds. But if you want a little bit more drama as a romantic, definitely take inspiration from some vampiric looks or anything a little bit vampy. I think vampires in autumn just have such an evocative feeling that is very sensual and seductive, and romantics can really pull that off. So along with that lush dark red lip, adding like a bold winged liner or a smokiness to the eye. Not as dramatic as the dramatics, but still like this very mature, put together look that romantics can rock so easily. That'll definitely look so great for like a nighttime look. And then I think playing with ombre lips. So just to shake it up from like the kind of classic red lip, having a very dark liner and then feathering it into something softer. It kind of looks like a rose petal, and you can kind of adjust it to how vampy you like, whether like a very dark brown or just like a red moving into a pink. Just playing with that. I think a lot of romantics can do the siren eye in a really nice way that complements the lush lips. Yeah, just definitely don't shy away from those very classic autumn lip shades, because the lushness and roundness of the romantics features just really can showcase that. And it is just such a iconic autumn makeup look. All right, ingenues, the sweet, innocent baby angels. Just saying, you guys often give off a very fresh, innocent feel, even when you're well into your 30s and 40s. I got some ingenue friends, and they always get carded because they just have this innocence and youth to them. In terms of some autumn makeup looks, I think leaning into the blushy side of things, whether you're leaning into like a coral, an orange, a terracotta, just like getting that flush all over the cheeks just looks so great on an ingenue and just like really leans into that fresh innocence. But you can go a little deeper with some of the shades if you'd like, for sure. But like get those oranges on the cheeks, get those terracottas, just really lean into that blushiness. I think it looks really nice when you put the same shade on the lip and then a gloss on top. There's definitely like a freshness to the ingenue that suits some glow to complement some of these more like earthy kinds of oranges or terracottas, and just keeping that light freshness. So little pops of highlighter too, you know, in the inner corner on the cheekbone. Like, so a lot of ingenues have like these cuter noses, like you can really lean into the highlighter on the nose, and that kind of balances the more richer colors of autumn that you might be playing into. And yeah, just generally like those soft washes of color, like on the eyelids, like a little bit of peach. Like, as much as those are spring-like colors, are often associated with the spring color palette from Color Seasons, they are very autumnal too. They're just these lighter versions of the autumn shades. And I found this really gorgeous look that, you know, a lot of ingenues get recommended like pinks and like innocent sweet shades. And this one girl, she has like a very autumny orange eye, but then these baby pink lips, like glossy. It looks so fresh. It looks so pretty. And I think an ingenue could pull that off really well. And then keeping with a very ingenue recommendation is the lashes, and going in with a lot of mascara and kind of that open, dull, like lashy eye. That can be just a fun thing to play with as you move into these like oranges and coppers, and that just keeps, again, that fresh innocence the same way the glow and the sparkle and the sheen might. That being said, if you're an ingenue, I still think you can rock a vampy lip if you'd like, because it just contrasts so interestingly with the very sweet, innocent nature of the ingenue. But yeah, in terms of the classic ingenue looks, just these lighter versions of a lot of the colors, and just having those moments where you keep things kind of light. And honestly, the same thing translates to the ethereals. The ethereals are the ones who come across as having a very otherworldly look, a sort of like wisdom and a little bit of a fading away, often cast in roles as like an elf or some kind of like mystical kind of person in a show or something. And having that light airiness with like these autumn looks is what keeps it feeling very natural for an ethereal. Like, I think ethereals can definitely lean into like a darker lip, but keeping the rest of everything very open and light. And that being said, skipping the eyes entirely. There's something so interesting when an ethereal leans into like a darker, autumny look, but keeps everything else very bare. It kind of leans into that slightly alien feel. And I think it can be fun to mix it up then. Sometimes ethereals are just recommended very low contrast looks, but I think they could definitely lean it into something still richer and earthier, but then having that levity, because autumn tones are kind of earthier. So you want to have that celestial something happening, whether it's a lot of like translucent shimmer on the eyelid to like add the levity, or gloss. Like, I find, because I have some ethereal essence, like gloss can really like lift up any shade that's feeling like it's drawing me down in a way, or if it's too grungy or too dark, the gloss just like lifts it up. That being said, if you're an ethereal who likes to lean into the low contrast looks, I think there are some really pretty autumn shades you can do, just like even lighter than the ingenues did, and even lighter than the classics, where it's just these little touches of peach or soft browns or whatever that might be for your level of complexion, but the just kind of low contrast look. And of course, berries look so good on ethereals, so berry lips and cheeks, and those feel very autumnal to me. You can just really lean into the low blush placement too. A lot of ethereals have like longer face shapes, and rather than shine away from it, I think you can lean into it, and that gives it very this painterly feel. I love a low blush placement. Bring it all the way down here, and like a berry lip and cheek, no eyeshadow, but like some glow and gloss. Gorgeous, effortless, ethereal. And that's it for the Kitchener style essences. But many of you know that I did a video on what some people have called the Oneiric essence, or the lost essence, which essentially is people who don't have the magnetic, otherworldly quality of the ethereal, but more of this like withdrawn look. They kind of have a haunted look to their features. And a lot of you really felt like that jived with you, whether you just wanted to gravitate towards those kinds of looks, or just really felt like that was what your energy gave off. So these Oneiric makeup recommendations, they just suit autumn so much because they have that haunted, ghostly vibe to them. It's not about leaning into the earthy tones of, autumn and the browns and the oranges, but more the ghostly nature we associate with autumn. Like, Oneiric essence automatically lends itself to autumn looks and cold season looks. It's all very withdrawn. And so if you do want a whole tutorial on that, check out the Oneiric essence, perfect for autumn. But if you're not familiar with what I've explored before, definitely like those muddy tones, the gray tones. Keep your under eyes, keep your discoloration, and lean into it more. Add all this smudginess under your eye, and this very kind of not structured or dramatic effect, but wishy-washy in the same way I recommend for naturals, but with muddier tones, more grays, like just mix in grays with anything you're using. You could definitely use browns, but I feel like when you muddy it up with something, it really leans into the Oneiric. And having any kind of gray or taupe, very cool tone dead looking like lip liner in your arsenal can really just muddy up a lip just enough to feel a little bit haunted. Honestly, I've done this with a few lip shades, just something that was very classic and pink, but then using the gray taupey liner just gives it that haunted quality. I don't necessarily think Oneirics suit the high contrast, like vampy lips, but this is a different kind of, not vampy lip, but spooky lip, ghostly lip. It's in the same kind of vein and energy that has something strange about it, but it's more those grays. And even like bleach brows. I gotta just say, those have been making, do I want to call it a comeback? I don't know, but bleach brows are showing up a lot more in style recently, and more people are rocking it. And I think it suits Oneiric because it's strange. It looks a bit, you can't put your finger on it. Something's off, but in a cool and intriguing way, right? Mauves too. Mauves are great for the Oneiric essence and for this just like muddied up look. Yeah, don't be afraid to just like mix all the shades together. And I do think like some monochromatic elements really work for Oneiric. So between the gray eyes and lips, like having that really go together and leaning into the heavy contour, all very autumny, but like that very different side of it, the ghostly side of it. All right, friends, that is it for all these makeup recommendations. I hope you're feeling inspired, whether you want to lean into your essence or lean against it or take inspiration from different essences. I know I'm feeling really inspired to try out some of the ethereal recommendations I'm thinking of, like the totally no eyeshadow looks with some darker lips. I might do some videos on that. I'm feeling inspired. There's so many different ways you can express yourself and lean into these warm, cozy season and haunted season vibes. So definitely have fun. That's what makeup and style is all about. Don't take anything too seriously, but definitely have some fun. You know what? Also, I'm going to link down my Pinterest boards down below so you can save any images that may have inspired you from any of the boards. I'll leave that down below. And stay tuned for my Ethereal Style Essence Guide. It's taking a little bit of time because I'm trying not to rush it and got a lot of life things happening at the same time. And yeah, that's it for today. Toasty, let's take it away. Thanks so much to everybody for watching this video, and we hope you're feeling inspired. If you want to help support me and the channel further, you can join the Patreon coven, also linked down below, where you get a little bit of bonus content as a thank you for your support and keeping me going here on YouTube. I really appreciate all the coven members and Magic Circle members. If you want to make a very small donation, every little bit helps. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody, and happy autumn. And until next time, oh no, what did I do to toast? Toasty. Okay. May you all find yourselves a little bit of makeup magic, and we will see you in the next video. Bye, witches.